Just a bunch of double dumbasses here. Welcome to another edition of A Strange New Pod. I'm your captain and host, Julian Brown, alongside my trusty bridge crew, Rear Admiral Eric, the board queens of pun herself, Ensign Brittany, our resident Patrick Stewart body double, Lieutenant Hawk, and the mother of whales, the San Francisco Bay Triathlon winner 2 years in a row, eater of 2 large pizzas in one sitting, and the current owner of 5 Klingon birds of prey, Ensign Aaron. I say to you, there be whales here.
Oh, it was so fun. So much fun.
Can you help me find
what do we have here?
The nuclear whistles? The nuclear
whistles.
Hello,
looking
computer.
for nuclear whistles.
I think they're across the bay.
I already
That's
have
what we
goosebumps.
ask. That's what we ask.
This is going to be a great pod. This is going to be a good one. So if you're wondering why we're doing a Voyage Home this month, it's because we're celebrating Brittany's birthday, which was last month on February 20th, and my birthday is on Monday. And I think like 2 months ago, we had our little chat where we say, hey, what should we talk about on A Strange New Pod? And someone said, well, Brittany hasn't seen Voyage Home, and we all love it. So let's do a birthday celebration to talk about whales. So here we are. Whales. It's whale time. So we're going to do our retro review and deep dive into this amazing film, Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home, better known as the whale one. And Brittany,
with the whales.
I already said this, but this was your first time watching this film.
Oh, you're right about that, matey. It was a whale of a tale. And I'll tell you what, Kirk even had a San Francisco Bay, if you know what I mean. She wanted more than just the Moby Dick.
Can you do this the whole time? Because I'm here for it, 100%.
Of course.
Absolutely.
I want to know what the hell is going on.
Oh.
I got
Sea
the drink
shanties.
made.
I think it
Oh,
was.
wait, what's the Star Trek theme song? We can sing it as a sea shanty.
Oh, Eric knows the lyrics, doesn't he?
Oh, no, not anymore.
Oh.
There are words?
Yeah, we did it one. Were you not here?
You might not have been
No.
here for that one.
Oh, God.
This was an absolutely ridiculous film that I enjoyed the hell out of. So
Well.
thank you for this. Thank you.
These are the lyrics of the original TOS theme
I'm
song.
ready for it.
We can
All
do
right.
one of those TikTok shanty videos. Let's go.
We should. We should.
Beyond.
TikTok shanty video.
For a little
Wait,
while,
wait.
white
Oh,
people remembered that shanties were a thing.
let me pull
and
up my.
they tried their hand at it.
I gotta roll
I'm
up my
ready for
sleeves.
this. I'm going to take it all in.
This
Eric's
is real. This is real. Beyond the rim of the starlight, my love is wandering in starflight. I know he'll find in star-clustered reaches love, strange love a woman reaches. I know his journey never ends. His Star Trek will go on forever. But tell him, while he wanders his starry sea, remember me.
See? The Starry Sea. It's a sea shanty. And while
We're
we
doing
introduce the
this.
Starry Sea.
We're doing it. We're gonna
This
do
is,
it.
I mean, it's not quite as good as the Stargate song, but I do like it.
I have to. Oh yeah.
Oh,
no,
we'll talk about it. Like, we talked about it before, but I'll talk about it.
I have to go to Twitch early here because NY like brought up a great point. I hope Brittany won't say that she's already seen Final Frontier, but not Voyage Home until now.
I have not seen Final Frontier.
I haven't seen it either. You guys, this
That's
is the
the one where you guys
only
keep saying, "What
TOS
is
movie I've ever seen.
Starship?"
It took us like 15 minutes to remember the name of that
know.
movie too yesterday. Oh my
Well,
god.
anyway,
Are we gonna do Final Frontier? Is that a
Yes.
thing that's gonna
Is that
happen?
the
Yes,
one?
absolutely.
I've been seeing pictures. Wales is the only one I've ever seen of TOS. I'm serious. Like, I know about Khan and everything, but I haven't seen it. Is Final Frontier the one? I've been seeing a lot of pictures on her Discord with like Nazis.
No,
No.
this is the one that
Just an episode.
where Kirk famously says, "What does God need with a starship?"
what does God need with a
Oh,
starship?
where's Cybok? Oh, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'll leave
Oh,
him
yeah,
there.
you're Cybok.
He's over
We
there
learned
by
that-
my TV.
We learned that Spock has a half brother.
Yeah, we learned that Spock has a half brother, and it's all sorts of fucked up.
Another
but not-
sibling.
But we don't learn about Michael Burnham, the greatest Starfleet captain of all time.
We're not
No,
allowed
he's-
to. We're not allowed to.
No.
Member of
True,
the
true,
X-Men.
true,
His name is Cyclops.
I love Cyclops.
Guys, we've already gone off the rails. Before we get into our show, a big thank you, as always, to Sam Dillard and Samo Studios for our intro and outro music that makes us want to do the time warp again. There was a joke in our Discord about it. You had to be there. Anyway, also today, just to bring it down a level real quick, because it must be mentioned, we remember the late, great Anton Yelchin, who was taken away from us way too early. He would have been 32 today.
So young.
So I know it's so sad.
It was his death
gonna
and
say any
Heath
puns.
Ledger's death were like the two that really was like, what?
Yeah.
It just
Yeah. Well, and his was such like a
Chadwick Boseman.
senseless, like talk about freak accident. We don't need to talk about it, but like, wow,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
anything. Live your life, man, because anything could happen.
It
like,
was weirder that like one of his last movies, if not his last movie, was Odd Thomas, and I remember watching that after he died, and I was just like, this is surreal.
did that come out after The Green Room?
Oh, The Green Room. What a messed up
Oh.
movie that is. If you want to see Patrick Stewart in a really fucked up role,
I haven't seen that one.
oh man.
Oh, it's
He
so
basically
good.
plays a white supremacist. He plays in
Oh
the,
no, I can't. No.
Mhm.
Listen, life is hard enough. I'm not here for
But he's so
that.
good at it.
he's so good.
He's Patrick
so-
Stewart. He's good at everything. Everything.
On the upside, you get to see Anton Yelchin in a hardcore punk band doing a cover of the Dead Kennedys' Nazi Punks Fuck Off.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yes.
Can I just watch that
I
part
can
on
dig it.
YouTube?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Spotted Draft, for some reason or another, is confused why no one's seen Final Frontier, and I think there's a good reason why people haven't seen Final Frontier.
It's
It's never
bad.
on TV.
It's bad.
That's the reason I've never seen it.
I
Is
actually
this the
almost-
next one?
It's the
It's
next.
not great.
I actually almost put this in the fun facts. Do you know that that movie was basically not released internationally at all? Like
Because it was
Really?
so bad.
it just didn't get an international release.
It never
It's so
made it
weird.
past our frontier
It did not.
onto greener pastures.
Well, listen,
Um,
this is like a peak movie. I mean, it's just everybody enjoys it. I saw this movie about this time last year when we were all home, and I was like, everybody's been talking about that whale thing forever. I should go check that out. Haven't seen any other TOS, haven't watched the series, and I was like, watch the whales. Enjoyable. I didn't need to, I know who the characters are, but like, that's like first contact. You don't need to know shit, and you can enjoy it. So,
Giraffe is starting a fight in the Twitch chat. She said
That's
that.
all right.
Oh.
She said the motion picture is the worst, and now everyone's just like,
That's not true. For the Enterprise alone. But before we get into our awesome retro review and deep dive of the Whale one, hey Hawk, how can people go ahead and support A Strange New Pod?
Well, I don't usually do the Patreon.
No,
part,
you don't, but I'm throwing you off here.
Yeah. You can help support our show and all the programming that we're doing and all the programming that we want to do in the future in that. There's a tiered system in that. The prices kind of escape me right now in that.
Do
tier.
1, 5, and 10.
1, 5, and 10.
No, sorry.
So-
I can't even do it right.
1,
2, and 5.
10.
2, 5, and then we're introducing 10.
We're introducing the 10. It's on my mind. That's why I said it.
Well, with each tier, there we have all sorts of extras in that you'll be entitled to in that. Aaron does a fantastic show about mixing up drinks in that to make them look like something straight out of Star Trek. So, if you want to become a member of our Patreon in that, it will help us to bring this show to you for many, many years to come.
Yay. Agreed.
Straight out of
Yeah.
Copeland. Or Copeland. It's Copeland, right?
It is
Yeah.
Copeland. That was
Okay,
very
just
good.
making
And
sure.
Hawk, that was great. That was perfect.
Thank
I'm
you.
gonna have you do it more often. If you guys do want to join our Patreon, it's even easier than it's been before. You just go to strangerjupod.com. Right at the top, you hit join our collective. Boom, it'll take you right there.
Sorry,
So
she
And
just
we had
turned
a
great
bunch
song on
of-
the radio in the car, so I'm just jamming now.
We had a bunch of free content this month too, because we wanted people to get a taste of what the Patreon was like. So if you go and check out our Patreon, there'll be some content there that you don't need to actually be a member to access. So if you want to get a taste, go over there and check it out.
Just a little taste, just a little sip.
A little sip.
I liked your little
Little bit.
ice drop there for that. If that was intentional or not, I don't know. It seemed like it was.
It's just, a big ice cube always makes a good moment. But now the drink that I made for the whole podcast is already empty. So there you go.
That's why I
Landed
brought
like the ship in the middle of the
2
San
beers.
Francisco
That's
Bay.
my brought 2
You're
beers.
smart. I should have made a double. Fuck.
I just want to point out before Brittany gives our thanks to some of our awesome Patreon collective members that we are currently sitting at 21. That's 4 away from 25. If we get to 25 patrons, you guys get that awesome, maybe not so awesome rendition of us all singing
Oh God.
Faith of the Heart live on the show.
It is
It's
so.
gonna be auto-tuned. I don't know how it works, but we're gonna do it.
4 more patrons for that. And we might even do a t-shirt in memory of it.
We're talking about some cool perks for the $10 level that we're not going to tell you about just yet, but some cool ideas, man.
a weekly call of us singing Faith of the Heart to them.
I know
Get
this
to
is
your cell
going-
phone.
I know this is going way off topic, but I said it yesterday when you did your drink video, Eric, and Spotted Giraffe just mentioned it. Did you do your hair differently, which I noticed as well?
Oh, no, it's actually when you have short hair, you have like this 1 week between like it still looks okay and then just like out of control. And I'm currently in the out of control phase, and somebody was saying actually, because I filmed it in the morning and kind of in a rush because we were like, I'm gonna make this video. Normally we don't do two, but I just did an extra, and the lighting was a little funny, so my hair was like morning, hadn't really done it hair, and the lighting made it look like the 90s. So that was like you know what honestly inspired the way I'm setting up the videos now is Nana Visitor. Like she did this drink video and it just in this cute little spot, and there were some plants around, and I like the way I was doing it before, but I just really like the vibe, and it's better. So listen, that's DS9. The Drunk Space 9 is inspired by DS9.
I love it.
What do you know?
I love it. Hey, Brittany, speaking of our awesome Patreon collective, who do we have to thank this week?
Well, I'd like to thank Simon Stager, Jeff Reeve, Mariah Gossett, Mike Bag, Anne
Mag.
Bradley, Spotted Giraffe, Mitch Thatcher, Rob, Jen Stein, Tina Alexander, Joe Saporito, Noe Santos, Kang Hui, JD, Takako Nagumo, Kara Kennedy, Patrick Hazard, Dean Pearson, and Fernanda Nogales.
Boom.
I like that.
Thank you, guys. That was very good, Britt.
Yeah, right.
Very
Brittany's
well
the
done.
best at
Very
that.
well done. She is.
It's like I learned languages at one point in time.
Yeah, it's like
It's
she
like
lived in
you're a
France
voice artist.
for a little bit of time there.
Yeah.
She's
My
a
audio's been real
professional.
crystal clear recently.
Hire her.
The
Hey.
sun came out. I feel better now.
Before we get to the Strange New Loop, we have news. As always, you can catch our brand new news video series on YouTube and right on the front page of our website, Strange New News, hosted by Brittany. She's doing a fantastic job with that. But as always, new news happens like right after Wednesday, and there's a bunch of stuff. So if you want to catch that, though, we just did a countdown. We asked our patron collective what they wanted to possibly see from a new Trek film, and Brittany went through those options. So check that out. In other news, CBS Studios has offered an overall deal to the creators of the upcoming Star Trek Prodigy series, which is exciting. So congrats, Kevin and Dan Hagman, who got that contract. That's so cool. CBS is just like scooping up all
They're
the
shelling out the
creators.
money.
They are.
It's
All
like
that
the 90s again. Star Trek everywhere. It's like a second golden age, you guys.
It's in. 90s are in.
The 90s are.
That's why
in.
you got to keep that hair.
Yes, and that's why we got a with the Star Trek Voyager Indiegogo that's going insane and awesome, which our patrons have supported and we've supported. Like, can we like get to like $1 million and just get them to remaster the whole show? Because I need Voyager in HD. Come on.
It'd
Make
take
it
a lot
happen.
more than $1 million.
We'll see,
to
we'll see.
I
have
know,
it
but I
remastered.
want it. They
I
did
think
it with
Rob-
TNG. Give it to me.
I think Rob tweeted out today, like, if you haven't seen the Voyager documentary Indiegogo and you don't think there's a market for remastered DS9 and Voyager, you are wrong.
Here for it.
Here for it. Also, in other news, on the heels of the Kalinda Vasquez news, she's writing a brand new Trek film that's going to be produced by J.J. Abrams, possibly Star Trek 4, possibly a ton of other things. Again, check out Strange New News for that. Trek Movie broke the news that Wrath of Khan and Undiscovered Country director Nicholas Myers has pitched his own film idea to Paramount Pictures. So that's actually pretty exciting news. I don't want to spend too much time on this because we're a little bit over, but I think it's worth talking about a little bit. What do you guys think about the possibility of two different Trek films being in production, especially from Nicholas Meyer and to be fair, Kalinda Vasquez, who's done excellent work on Star Trek Discovery?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's all I need.
More
Yeah.
Trek is
Right.
good Trek,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
I love it that it's not only somebody's unique, kind of new vision going forward in that, but somebody who's like kind of tried and true in that. I know it's just a little bit of tidbit, a pitch and idea in that, but like Nicholas Myers, I'm excited.
I didn't even realize he was still alive, to be
Yeah, I
honest.
didn't either. I didn't either. Everybody started talking about Nicholas Myers. I'm like, wait, he's alive? Okay. All right. That's good. Those are good things. Yeah, Nicholas Myers would bring, I think, it'll be interesting to see if he can make a modern Trek movie because, yeah,
He's a
Right?
consulting producer on Discovery.
he is. That is
So,
true. Yeah, we'll see. I got in trouble on our Discord the other day for saying, when is too much Trek, and Mag let me have it, which was good on her.
Good job, Mag.
Props.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I take that back. All the Trek. Just give me all the Trek. I love it. I think, if I'm not mistaken here, that is all the news. Anybody else want to touch on Nicholas Meyer real quick, or should we move right along?
Move on.
All right, let's do it. It's time for the Strange New Loop. If you had to go back,
I took it off.
oh, boo. If you had to go back in time to save the planet Earth, would you come up with a better cover and plan than Kirk and crew did, or would you wing it like they did?
Everyone would do better.
If you didn't wing it, what would your cover be?
My favorite part was just like that. He was like, "Why are you guys all standing together?" And they were just acting kind of silly, and he was just like, "Ah," and they walked away. Like, what the fuck? In my favorite show, Voyager, when they go into the past, San
90s.
Francisco in the 90s, which is amazing. They have like a plan. They've got Paris, who's like a history junkie, even though he's kind of
They
bad
have a Sarah
at it.
Silverman.
They had Sarah Silverman
Yep.
in her
They
first
actually
role.
dressed for the decade.
Yeah, and they go to the Griffith Observatory for the very first time. It had never been filmed before. But anyway, we're not talking about that movie or show. But I do think it works for the movie because the movie's just fun. They're sort of like, I don't know what happened in the past movie because for some reason they're in a Klingon bird of prey. I'm assuming this is after, because I know that Spock dies and
I'll give you the cliff notes.
Good, I need it.
Kirk steals the Enterprise
Okay.
because Starfleet's like, no, you can't go rescue Spock, who's possibly in that coffin, possibly not in that coffin. Like, nah.
Why is he not? So it's after he's dead.
Oh, so Genesis, which you just got to watch the movies about
Yeah.
Genesis. And
I
Starfleet's
guess
like,
we'll have to podcast about it.
yep. Starfleet's like, nah, you can't go. And Kirk's like, well, fuck you. I'm going to steal the Enterprise. Steals the Enterprise, basically brings trans-warp travel and theory back like 200 years because it hasn't been invented since it was on Excelsior. And then Klingons attack, by Christopher Lloyd, by the way. Klingons attack the Enterprise, and Kirk's basically stuck between a rock and a hard place and beams all the Klingons aboard the Enterprise, and in the most Kirk move of Kirk moves, blows up the Enterprise with all the Klingons on board.
And in this
Oh,
movie,
shit.
he's stuck between a Spock and a hard place.
It's true. It's true. So those are your cliff notes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because they're in exile or whatever, and I get it. Like, I think everybody's just like off their game, but I think it shows that there's something about like these guys have been through a lot together, because one of the things I like about Voyager is they're so far away from Starfleet that they're, they can kind of like be off book a little bit, and they're a little, the way that they're close is, I think, one of the reasons I like the show. There's a closeness to that cast that's less like professional, that I think is good. Like DS9, they're close, but they still feel professional. But these guys, they just feel like a family to me. It's like they're trying to figure out what to do, and they're walking around. And I just love that William Shatner's just like, we're gonna go this way, and they get on the bus.
You're talking about TOS?
Yeah, I'm talking about. Sorry,
I thought you were talking about Voyager for a second. I was like, Janeway's pretty strict.
Well, she is, but I think they still have. They have a different. I still think they have a kind of close vibe just from being, stranded together, possibly forever. But I think Kirk and all of them, they've been through a lot, and they're probably, they're probably all going to jail, and now they're in the past trying to save whales. Like, that's a banana situation. So I think he's just like, whatever, just fucking go.
So
like.
Are you
figure this
saying
out.
that you would also wing it? Is that your answer, that you would wing it?
No, I think that I understand why they're winging it, but I think almost anybody else would be like, all right, this is like several hundred years in the past, and think about it. How would any of us do 400 years in the past, or however long it is? Like, we have a general idea of how shit was then, but we would not do well. Like, come on.
They would burn me at the stake. They'd be like, she's a fucking witch.
No, especially like women and the way people talk and rules and how does transportation work. Like, I love all of that.
One man
but-
in the colonial era would look at me and I'd be like, you can die.
Yeah, and then you would get like killed, and they'd probably like
Yeah.
slap you, and then we kill them, and listen, if I'm going out, I'm stabbing somebody. But no, I think that this movie does it exactly the right way. It's fun, like double dumbass, and like all the cursing. What is it Spock says? Like, and Kirk's
like something like, no, the hell you won't, or
no, that yeah.
No,
Yeah.
he says the hell they did when she asked like the whale said that, and he's like, the hell they did.
Yeah, and then Kirk's like, "You're not using." I like that Kirk's like, "You're not using this right." It's like, "Kirk, you aren't either." And he's like, "The hell I will," or I don't know. I just enjoyed every one of those. So that was a long answer, but I've come to some conclusion. So I'll let someone else talk.
Who's next?
One, just to start, I would not have walked around like Spock looking like the Karate Kid is about to take a shower.
Yes.
Like, that is the one thing about this movie. I'm like, he is Daniel LaRusso in a bathrobe right now. Like, why would you think this would work in this time period is beyond me. But yeah, I would like to believe that I would have a better plan than this crew, because they did just kind of beam down in whatever clothes. They're like, yeah, this will work. And I'm like, it won't. You don't look like you fit in at all.
But they took off their ranks. He was like, "Take off your insignia."
Yeah.
Wasn't the point of
Take
him
off
in
your
that
crowns.
robe was that he looked like a hairy Krishna?
Yes.
I don't even know. But anyway, my cover story would be like, if I'm already from the future and with Starfleet, even though money doesn't exist in the future, I would just beam down and pretend to be a really rich person, basically. And like, I would just be like, yeah, I'm here to save the whales. I have a ton of money. Just like, let me take over this project. Like, I would convince them in a way that would be feasible in the 80s. I would just dress like a really fucking rich person in the 80s and make it happen. So I feel like it would be easy just to be like, yeah, I have money. Trust me. I'm here to save the whales.
I'm here for the. Let me see.
And I can still
Whales.
seduce the woman. It's whatever. It's fine.
Who's next?
Hawk?
Yeah. I mean, all great points. What was I gonna say? Yeah, I think Spock was perfect in San Francisco, and that, like, the whole thing about, oh, he went to Berkeley. He did too much. Like that, just he seemed to fit in perfectly there. The rest of them, it goes back to the family aspect, and that, it's like this was a mission that was either going to either succeed or fail, and that, there was no plan. I would wing it. I mean, like, what else are you going to do when you go back like 300 years?
Yeah.
You wing it, as far as my cover, God, like back in, like, this is what, 86?
86. It was, yeah.
Yeah.
It was the year of my birth.
You either
Same.
want to blend in or stand out there, because, like, do you go punk rock guy, or do you just go like, Berkeley student?
I see. I don't
Berkeley
think they have
student.
enough information. Oh, just real quick, there was one in the Voyager one when they beam down into San Francisco, because they're trying to blend in or whatever, and Tuvok's with them, and he's wearing like a headband or some bullshit to cover his ears, and there's all the crazy 90s people, there's like roller skaters and people with mohawks.
We rollerbladed in the 90s.
Yeah,
Hell
we,
yeah, we did. And Tuvok's like, we could have wore our Starfleet uniforms. I doubt anyone would have noticed. and I thought that, I think now, looking back on that, is that an homage to this movie? Because that's what they
for
did.
sure.
They're wearing the uniforms and no one noticed.
Maybe.
They're so referential with their movies and shows.
Yeah. It's all an inside joke. It's all whales. Top to
Uh,
It's always.
Yeah. So wing it.
wing it. I would like to think personally that I would have a plan, but I'd probably land and be like, well, this wasn't what I was expecting.
They're very
Spotted
lucky that
Giraffe,
they landed in that one place, right?
Yeah. Spot Giraffe, you're totally right. He was wearing a do-rag. It wasn't a headband.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, time travel. I love it. Well, we're about to talk about it a whole lot more because it is time for our Star Trek IV The Voyage Home retro review and deep dive. And Eric, would you please, sir, give us the synopsis?
Yeah, so living in exile on the planet Vulcan, the ragtag former crew of the USS Enterprise steal a starship after receiving a planetary distress call from Earth. A space probe has entered into orbit around Earth, disabling global power on the planet and evaporating the oceans. Captain Kirk, played by the great, well, I'm not going to say great. I'm going to say played by William Shatner. Spock by the great Leonard Nimoy. And the rest of the officers travel back in time to retrieve now extinct humpback whales, which Spock has deduced will communicate with the probe and send it away from Earth. Dun, dun, dun.
Pretty big risk, right? Like, maybe it was the whales. It could have been a ton of other things, and luckily it was whales.
Yeah, well, I would trust Spock's guess at,
Yeah, Spock did a lot of guessing in this movie, and luckily all of his guesses were right.
As I watched this film, the first thing I wrote down in my notes when I was watching it was, when do the whales appear? Because I really did think this was like a minor plot point, and people were just like, oh yeah, it's the one with the whales. Like, the whales make an appearance. And then I
Yeah.
watched it, and I was like, this is 100% about whales. Holy shit.
And this is
Like,
how
you
they
guys can see on Twitter my reactions, but I was just like,
this is how they get indoctrinated into Starfleet, right?
yeah.
Cetacean sections started getting built because they came.
Station ops on the Enterprise.
Bam.
That's why we have space whales. There you go.
It is so long, and thanks for all the fish.
I like that you took notes. I watched it. So I've seen this twice, once a year ago and once now. And I'll be honest, like the entire why they had to go back in time was sort of like whatever. I was like,
Yeah, I had to focus to really understand the plot at first, but then I was like, it's just fun.
because 90% of this is they're in the past. They have to save whales to save the future somehow, and that's what mattered.
You're about
really.
to read that synopsis, though.
I am.
You might as
You
well just
are.
read the synopsis.
I will say the one thing real quick that went over my head the first time that I saw this, because obviously I was a kid and was watching it on my dad's Betamax machine, was the fact that Chekhov was running around San Francisco as a Russian asking cops where the nuclear vessels were. And of course, like I don't know, I'm 5 or 6, maybe 7, maybe.
And it just
I don't know. Obviously, first time as a kid, I don't know what the Cold War is. It's just way over my head. Watching that now, I'm like, yikes.
The look that Cop gives him is just priceless.
For real, dude? Oh man.
How
Oh.
well does that play in 2021? Because it's like, it's still funny, but like, is it funny because of that? I don't know. Like, I'm trying to figure out, because it makes me laugh, but I'm like, is it
It's
in bad
funnier
taste? I don't
then.
know. Yeah.
Like, it ages with the fact that you just have to still remember
Yeah.
what it was like in the 80s. The whole movie is about the 80s and whales. That's literally it.
Yeah.
So
80s
every joke is about the
and
80s,
punk
or
rock.
it's about saving whales. That's all
Exactly.
the jokes in the film.
Speaking of saving whales, Aaron, why don't you read our Act 1 here?
Okay. So in 2286, an enormous cylindrical probe. By the way, as I'm saying this, I'm learning because I've seen it twice and I was like, what the fuck? The probe moves through space, sending out indecipherable signals and disabling the power of every ship it passes, like the burn. As it takes up orbit around Earth, its signal disables the power grid and generates planetary storms, creating catastrophic sun-blocking cloud cover. Starfleet Command sends out a planetary distress call and warns all spacefaring vessels not to approach Earth. Am I going to keep reading?
No,
or
I'll read.
I wasn't sure.
No, you're good. So the reason I wanted to ask this question, because I remember as a kid, the first couple times I watched this movie, that probe and the noise it made like scared the shit out of me when I was a kid for whatever reason. That and like Event Horizon just blew my mind. Yeah, right. What was your guys' reaction the first time seeing that big cylindrical thing with the little, for lack of a better term, blue ball? What did you guys think about that? Because I thought it was pretty scary.
I tend to not have a reaction to big cylindrical things with balls, but that's
Same.
just me, the lesbian. I will
The
say
gays.
my cat,
Your cat?
was freaked out by the noise that made, and also the whale noises later on. I think they used like real whale noises, because my cat was like freaking out. So,
Well, cats and whales are both
yeah,
aliens, so
obviously.
True.
She was like, they're communicating.
it's a flirkin.
It is a flirkin.
I do like that Spock is like, this is really weird and doesn't sound right. Must be whales. And I'm like, yeah, yep. They were like, do you know the whales? Sherman, 42 Wild Me Way, Sydney.
Be sure, man.
Yep.
On Discord, every time that whoop 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 sound came up, because we had our special Scotty Rusty Nail drink, we were like, drink, and so at the end we were all drunk.
Drink for the boops.
That's true.
Yeah.
I love
Whoop,
that.
whoop, 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 drink.
Yeah, it's an interesting, like, you could tell like they did a model for that, right?
Yeah, everything
Yeah.
back then was
I
still
just like
a
wasn't
practical
expecting
thing.
that.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, what is this thing?
It looked
So,
like Tron.
a little bit like the
Yeah.
way it was digitized.
Do that.
So, yeah.
It was
Right.
scary
Oh.
like way back when. I think I saw it when I was probably 11. and that just the shape of it, the fact that there's no distinctive markings, or there, you don't see any crew, nothing. You don't know what it is, and that piercing sound that comes through. When you're a kid watching it, it's terrifying.
I would like to thank everybody on our Discord right now who is typing out what the sound is.
Yeah. I think it was weird that there was, when I was younger, I thought it was weird that there was a separate part of it. Like that ball made it seem so foreign. I don't know if that makes sense, because you don't really see that in any spaceships.
Do seem foreign.
but
I cannot relate.
Press the wrong button. That was meant to be.
Shut up, Wesley.
Oh, that's my first time.
It was.
It did remind me of the Monolith from 2001. Like, I was young enough to had seen that movie, did not understand it, but it reminded me of that. So
It did monolith our spirits at the end when it left.
Oh yeah, okay.
Get off my bridge.
Aaron, would you like to continue Act 1, please?
Sure. So on the planet Vulcan, the former officers of the late USS Enterprise are living in exile, accompanied by the Vulcan Spock. We know him. And they're still recovering from his resurrection. And the crew, except for, you guys will have to help me out with this.
Savick.
Okay, because again, like, I haven't seen this character before now. Except for Savick, who remains on Vulcan, the crew decides to take the captured Klingon bird of prey that they renamed the Bounty, which I thought was cool. That seemed kind of.
It was a pirate ship.
I like the way they put it on the side of the ship.
You know why they called it Bounty? Because it's the quicker picker upper. They took those whales right out of the ocean. Just shut up.
That was good.
Not planned.
And then Kirk's like, hey, everybody, stand in a line and let's have a conversation. And everybody's like, yeah, let's go to Earth and face, let's go pay the piper. And so they do that. And then, whales.
Before we move on, I have to talk about, there was actually I was going to put this in the fun facts, but I actually thought it would have been a really cool subplot. I want to get your guys' take. That subplot was that there was, Savick was supposed to be pregnant with Spock.
I don't love that.
Well, you had to see Star Trek 3 because
fair enough.
It makes sense. So she was going to be pregnant with Spock's baby after I wrote Podfar because we're a podcast.
So he cheated on his wife?
No, remember the wedding doesn't actually happen.
Oh yeah, they did the
Spock is
I
not
still
married.
want that thing.
No, so again, Cliff Notes, Aaron, when Spock is resurrected, he's being resurrected from like baby all the way up. So he hits those teenage years, and
they do like a whole thing.
There's like 4 actors who play Spock in Search for Spock.
Yeah, you see, in his death pod, the reason it's called the Podfar is because that's where they do it.
No, but I like that. So at one point he starts going through Ponfar, and Savick is on Genesis with him, and Savick's like, well, I'm the only one here. We got to do it. So they do it. Obviously,
is there someone there? 2 guys wearing small clothing with little things going.
No, but David, Kirks' son, is there, which makes it a little bit awkward.
Yeah, he's dead, I guess. Like, I heard that in the movie. Like, Kirk has a dead son.
Yeah, dead son.
Yeah.
Yep. So basically that subplot though was cut from the movie. Do you guys think that it's something you maybe would have wanted to see explore a little bit more, or happy that was cut?
If they brought it back later, it would have been cool, but they just like you don't see her again. So it's like, whatever.
Yeah, I guess ultimately just wasn't really needed. Like, it's a cool fun fact, but I don't think I needed it in the movie. It's all about whales. Who needs time for other people's babies? We already got lady in San Francisco Bay who's pregnant.
And we got baby whales.
That's enough pregnancies, right?
And lizard babies.
Lizard babies.
Wait, did somebody say lizard babies? Because I thought someone said lizard babies.
Lizard babies?
Honestly, I like, especially at this time, I just was like, blah, 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 blah. At this time, I feel like a lot of female characters, their agency is to be a romantic interest. And it sounds like that's what this character was anyway, because they ponfarred. But anytime they take that stuff out, I'm always happy, because I just think it's like, does everybody have to be in a relationship or doing it all the time? Like, I don't know about you guys, but I do a lot of stuff all day, every day. and very little of it is connected to doing it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm also not married, so there's a little
Aaron's
less of
like
that.
telling on
And in
myself right
quarantine.
now.
Yeah, listen. We all wish there were more, but I'm just saying, life is not like that.
Truth. Yeah,
Both
Hawk.
Eric and Hawk.
Interesting, possibly as a subplot. I don't think it would have added anything to the film in that, but again, as Eric said, and to bring it up later on down the road in that, the possibility of what Spock would be like as a father.
Well, there was talk I remember hearing the rumors and reading about it that Savick was actually they weren't going to do the whole traitorous arc, that Savick was supposed to be Valeris in Undiscovered Country, but they couldn't. There's something they couldn't get Robin Curtis, or they decided to go a different route with the character.
Yeah.
That would have been cooler.
It would have. So, Aaron, we have a little bit more for Act 1.
Yes, I'm just gonna say though, if it were between this scene and talking about, because you guys have been telling me that they were gonna do more with Sulu, 100% would have preferred that storyline. So, but I think we're gonna talk about it.
We will.
Okay, so they receive our crew receives Starfleet's warning, and Spock somehow determines that the probe signal matches the song of extinct humpback whales, and that the object's gonna keep doing what it's doing until the call is answered. So the crew uses the ship and they travel back in time. They do the slingshot maneuver, which is how we send things,
Yeah.
far away, which I get that. I wasn't mad at it actually, except for some of the craziness. But they plan to return with a whale to answer the alien signal. Why didn't they just go into the records and send a recorded signal?
Probably wouldn't
No,
have
they
worked.
explained this in it because they said they could simulate a signal, but it would just be gibberish because they don't know exactly what they're saying.
Mhm.
And then we wouldn't have a movie.
So
Yeah, that's
Spock
true.
had to link up with the whales and was like, "Hey, yo, what up?" And they were like, "Mm."
So obviously the Enterprise crew here, right? They're up for a bunch of charges that would probably ruin their careers, and probably would lose their jobs. So they go back in time and they save the planet again. I mean, it works, right?
They've got nothing to lose.
Sets up the movie perfectly. Not much more to say on that.
Have a good night, everyone.
Yeah, bye. Watch the movie.
Yeah.
Go back in time, get some whales.
They
and come
really
back.
made it make sense that they get whales. That's all I'm gonna say.
It's true. It
They sold it. By the end, I was like, yeah, of course they had to save the whales, obviously.
You tweeted so many times, Britt, while you were watching and after you watched it. This movie has no right to be as good as it is, but it is that good.
Yeah, it was absolutely ridiculous, objectively, but at the same time, it was amazing.
And if you were going to find a way to save Kirk's career, I guess bringing some extinct species back from the dead is the way to do it. So let's move on to Act 2, and Hawk, I have you jotted down for this.
All right. So, arriving in 1986, the crew finds their ship's power drained by the time travel maneuver. Hiding the bounty in San Francisco's Golden Gate Park using its cloaking device, the crew split up to accomplish several tasks. Admiral James T. Kirk and Spock attempt to locate humpback whales, while Montgomery Scott, Leonard McCoy, and Hikaru Sulu construct a tank to hold the whales they need for a return to the 23rd century. Uhura and Pavel Chekhov are tasked to find a nuclear reactor, whose energy leakage can be collected and used to repower the Klingon vessel.
From nuclear vessels.
Where is the nuclear vessel?
Vessels.
I need the vessels.
They could have picked a bunch of different locations to do this, but Starfleet's in San Fran. San Fran's a major part of Star Trek. What do we think about the 80s San Francisco backdrop? Punk rock, swearing, and just all the amazing tropiness that comes with the 80s.
Loved it.
80s
Go ahead,
awesome.
Hawk.
They got a little stuff wrong about it. The punk rock guy. If it was San Francisco, he should have been more hardcore punk, not British punk guy, and not listening to a British punk song in 1986.
Hawk is
You
like,
never
fake
know.
punker."
Maybe there was a Brit there. Maybe it was a Brit.
Maybe
Where were all the
Maybe.
gays? Where were all the gays?
it's San
It
Francisco.
was 1986. They were.
That's
dying.
what I'm saying. It's San Francisco. Yeah. Oh God, you're right.
No, I'm
Oh,
just I'm
God.
trying to tell you. That's why they're not there.
True. It was the time.
R.I.P.
Wow, that got
Anyway.
deep and
Well, I
dark.
didn't want to get
Ooh.
depressing, but I'm like,
You're
there's-
right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Stressed.
80s, The Cure. What else, guys? What do we like?
The
What do we
Cure,
think about the
great
backdrop?
Depeche
They are.
Mode.
Oh,
They had
man.
Walkmans. It was
I love
My
wonderful.
my and Julian's
Crazy. I
birth,
liked it.
The year of our birth. Aaron?
1986.
It was
Is
weird
it-
to see that in the credits. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I know. Julian and Aaron were born this year.
This film is getting dedicated to Julian
To
Brown.
the crew of the Challenger and Julian and Aaron.
Oh,
Yeah, the 80s stuff was over the top, but I still liked it.
that's what the 80s were, though, right?
They were, though.
Yeah. It was go and more and like, more flashy and more of everything.
It was that Vita Lux.
It was.
Everybody up in there.
Talek
And in the 90s, we took it to another level.
Indeed.
There was not
Talek
enough
said-
Coke.
No,
We took it
not
to the
enough.
limit.
Oh,
Talix has a great comment on Twitch. Gays equal those skinny cops.
Yeah, they were so skinny. When we were on Discord, I was like, these cops that have been cast have never had a donut in their life. My God, they were fit. They're like running. But the Twitch is like really popping off tonight. I'm trying like
That's
not to look
because
down
people
too much because we're on
fucking love
camera.
this movie. People love this movie.
I love you,
Yeah.
Twitch people.
I gotta say this too. Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home, made in the 80s, the better's 80 tropiness movie than Wonder Woman 1984.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet.
That's
well,
because
That's
Yeah, but-
Yeah, I've
Star-
heard that.
Star Trek 4
Wonder
was
Woman
played for
went so
fun, though,
80s.
right?
it
And
was
84
totally
wasn't.
played for fun.
Wonder Woman went
wasn't-
so
yeah.
80s it forgot what it was supposed to be. Whereas this was like, this is just 80s camp. And the other one was like, we're camp, but make it 80s. And it
You
just-
know, there were garbage cans back in the day, not just in the 80s.
I think Rob asked, or someone asked on our Discord last night, why are the two garbage guys have strong
Yeah,
New York accents?
That was a good call. And the guy was like, "What is that?" He's like, "We didn't see anything."
We didn't see nothing. Get out of here.
That was the trope of the time, and that if you were
They were
working
like,
class,
you're looking for Alameda? I'll Alameda later.
if you were some working class guy and that, you had a New York accent, no matter what part of the country you lived in. It was like,
But
I
they're from
told ya.
Canada. Weird.
Play
Nowadays, a
Canada.
voice acting coach on set will be like, no, this is the accent in the region you're in.
Hawk, you want to continue on with Act 2, please?
absolutely. Where are we starting from? Kirk and Spock discover a pair of whales in the care of Dr. Jillian Taylor at the Sausalito Aquarium and have learned that they will soon be released into the wild. Kirk tells her of his mission and asks for the tracking frequency for the whales, but she refuses to cooperate.
Indeed, she does, because one of the reasons she refuses to cooperate is because Spock decides to go have a swim with those whales. Mind
Short
meld
shorts.
in short shorts, pretty much, I think, tighty whities. Mind melds with the whales, and yeah, that
Was
happens.
it a mind meld? Because they have telepathy as well. I feel like they were just talking to
He
each other.
definitely had his hand.
He did the-
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it
He
was
did
a
the-
mind meld.
You
I-
have
yeah.
dances with wolves, mind melding with whales. Like, it's all.
I would have watched
all the
that
same.
movie
To
alone.
Tonka.
He got in there so fast too. It was like all of it, and the best part of that, like this film is really done well because I'm not a Shatner fan, but when he's just like it's so
He put
funny. He's
it so well. I think
that one
everybody.
guy's like, that guy's swimming in there.
I think everybody will agree on our Discord and here, maybe besides Undiscovered Country, this is Shatner's best work because he's so loose in this movie.
Mhm. His camp works like perfectly for
Yeah.
this movie.
No, yeah, there was that one scene in the pawn shop and that, and the guy's like, pair of glasses from the 1870s and that. I'll give you $100. And he's like,
Is that
a
good?
lot? Is that a lot?
He really shattered my disbelief. So,
Get out of here, Britt.
just like Spock.
I like all the timey-wimey stuff of like, if we give this to him, are we changing the past? And it's like, that's where he got it. Like, and that's one of those like, instead of cause effect, it's like the effect cause effect. I love that timey-wimey bullshit.
I don't know. This movie may have fucked with the timeline more than Avengers Endgame. Who knows?
And I think I mentioned before in that Star Trek 2009 and that scene where Spock gives young Scotty the recipe for the transdimensional warping and that. Yeah, this total callback to this movie. And that.
Yeah, that's right. That's true. And then Kirk, in typical James T. Kirk fashion, wines and dines Jillian Taylor because that's what he does, except he doesn't have the money to pay for it this time.
We don't need it.
Well, I don't.
No, just because that's what Kirk does. There's a girl, wines and dines, solves a problem, saves the earth. And then just like this, after all of that, just like hilarity and fun ensue this entire movie. What did we think of the A plot between Spock, Dr. Taylor, Kirk, the whole thing between the food, the whales, they are not the hell you're whales, the whole thing.
I mean, like a romance story, you know how I feel about this, but I thought it actually works for this movie. I think it dragged a little bit in these kind of sections, and that's where I would have liked the like Sulu stuff, but I think it actually works, and I like her. I think they give her it for a movie made in 1985-86, they give her a decent amount of agency, and you know, at the end of this film she isn't like I'll love you forever. She's like, peace out, I'm gonna go do my own thing. So
I got 300
really
years
like
of
her.
catching up to do.
Yeah, and she looks like a Power Ranger. Like I'm all in it.
I agree. Oh man, my throat.
I can't really think of a bad point in this movie, and you know, like everything seemed to work. The whole comic play, the fact that it was a serious mission, but at the same time, the whole movie had this great lighthearted tone. I'm gonna bring up my favorite part of the movie a little later in that when we get to it, but anybody else?
I really like Dr. Jillian Taylor. I thought she, like, if that character wasn't as good as it was, I would have not liked that A plot. I feel like it would have been boring. But the fact that she was so like quippy and like she's every time she didn't believe Kirk, I just sat there as like, oh, you're amazing. You're so good.
Yeah, she was so aware,
she's
right?
Like, I
She
know a
wasn't.
con man when I hear him.
Yeah.
She wasn't like, oh, all of this stuff, because you know sometimes in these shows people are it's like somehow the strangeness, they just don't notice it. She's aware of all of it, and but she's still in control. She's going along with it, but she says it, and she retains a sense of control, and I like that.
Yeah, I liked her a lot as far as like female characters that have appeared in, you know, any of these Star Trek films that are just these random like one-off characters. I like that she actually like, you know, he says like, you're not going to join us on the starship, like you're going to stay here, bye. And then she's just like, yoink, just kidding, I'm on here now. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. I know it's later on, but a lot of good things to her character.
Yeah.
But when she calls them out on their lie and that, like,
yeah.
nope, you called him Admiral and that, and she repeats verbatim what they said, past tense. Like,
Yeah.
I have a photographic memory. I see words as pictures.
Too much LDS. Oh man, I love it.
That
I
needs
love
to be a shirt.
Yeah. Oh,
Write it down.
If we
Oh, I've got a list.
Eric is just gonna be making shirts for the rest of his life.
Eric, there's a good pizza shirt in here.
Eric,
Like,
where's my
we gotta
Let's
talk
Fly
about it.
shirt? Where's my Let's Fly shirt? Just saying.
It'll come. I had to
saying.
restart the lizard shirt, which made me sad.
By the
Are
way,
you doing a lizard baby shirt?
Yeah.
just quick merch shout out. If you haven't seen it yet, Eric just put an awesome shirt on our new Teespring store, our awesome Oh Captain My Captain shirt. Please go to our store and check it out and buy it because it's fucking awesome.
For people who are wondering why Spock's not on there or Sulu, it's because they didn't have their own TV show.
That's right.
Because they don't have their
Fair
own
enough.
TV show.
We only have so
It's
much
gonna
room
get
on a
crowded
t-shirt.
if you do that.
But Eric,
I
the
could have
real-
just put Archer 7 times. It would have been fine.
Archer and Archer and Archer and Archer and Archer.
And
Eric-
Long Road at the end.
The real question is though, my friend, is why isn't fucking Lorca on there? We're gonna have words.
No.
Because it wasn't really
Because
him.
it's Lorca.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He doesn't have his own
It
show.
was.
This is
but it
Burnham's
wasn't.
show, Discovery, and then
Damn
Lorca
right.
did,
Anyway,
Strange
we're
New
getting
Worlds gets
distracted
Pike,
from
so,
the
right?
whales, guys.
Lorca did nothing wrong. Sorry, I had to plug our
He
store.
doesn't
Lorca
have
did
his own
nothing
show.
wrong because he's a bad guy. Of course he didn't do anything wrong. He said if it was good Lorca, then he would have done something wrong.
He still wouldn't have
We
gotten
can
his
go-
shirt.
Yeah, I
We can
agree.
easily go from Lorcas to Orcas.
From Lorca's to
Ooh.
Kirkus, we will do that indeed. Brittany is trying to move us along. I like that she's on point.
I'm just trying to help. Aaron's got a meeting later.
He does. It's true. What's next up? Hawk, keep on going with Act 2, please.
Meanwhile, Scotty, McCoy, and Sulu trade the formula for transparent aluminum for the materials needed for the whale tank.
I'm sorry, did you
Uhura-
say aluminum? I thought you meant to say aluminium.
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 Is it aluminium?
In
That's what
England.
British
We're
people say.
British.
Aluminium.
We are
Come
not
back,
British.
Come
we
back
are
to the
Canadian.
Commonwealth.
Hello, computer.
The Royals are going through their own thing right now, so. Nothing going
Speak to
Uhura.
Queen's English.
Oh, you got that aluminium. What, Rob, you think you need 3/4? I can get it down to 1/4. You want to know why?
While you're there, get me some basil too, please.
No, it's basil tomato soup.
Oh, you guys want to hear a weird one? Because I live with a British person.
No, we got to move on.
No, wait, real quick.
She's delaying
After
herself.
like 7 years of living together, they don't say oregano, they say oregano.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
You
get
ever heard that one?
out.
No, they really do. It's really bad.
Oh,
It's really
awful.
I watch a lot of
Oregano
I watch a lot of Gordon Ramsay. I understand.
Well, it's like
People
calling
make fun of
cilantro coriander. It's fucking cilantro. Come on,
It's also
man.
coriander.
It is.
People make fun of Canadian accent.
What accent?
Sorry, Hawk. Continue.
Uhura and Chekhov locate a nuclear-powered ship, the aircraft
Russell.
carrier Enterprise. They collect the power they need, but are discovered on board. Uhura is beamed out, but Chekhov is captured and subsequently severely injured in an escape attempt.
Because he trips.
Because
he
literally-
trips.
He trips.
Because he didn't check off his step.
It's a bad fall, man. Someone said it in the Discord, but somebody was like, I thought he died. And I was like, you know what? You're right. That
He almost
I
did.
think, I think
That was a
all
bad-
of us as
hit your
kids
head on
thought
concrete.
he was dead at that point. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
a scary moment. The B plot has, I think, some of the better, funnier moments in this movie than the A plot.
Mhm.
Like Scotty talking to the old Mac. Hello, computer.
Computer.
And he's like his face and McCoy's face, they're both like, yeah, we're getting something.
Just use
Yeah.
the keyboard, and Scotty being like, "Oh, a keyboard. How quaint."
And then he
Oh,
just like is like,
dude.
like he gets it
Wonderful,
right
ironic,
away.
Dirty, not as dirty.
Yeah. That alone is just brilliant. But then I mentioned this at the top of the show. It definitely doesn't play as well now, but back then it had to be even funnier. A Russian walking through the streets of San Francisco asking police officers where the nuclear vessels are.
Earnestly.
And then
Still
not
funny.
only that, and it's getting a little ahead, but the interrogation scene, right? Where he just has no idea what the guy's talking about. And they all
I
just
can
think
go
he's
now?
playing dumb because he's a spy, right? Oh my god. It's so good.
Maybe they
Um,
thought
And
he
he's
was
like
a
gonna stun
whistleblower.
him.
A whistleblower, yes. B plot thoughts, guys.
I wish there
mean,
was more of it.
More Sulu. There was not enough Sulu in that. Like everything we got was good, but I felt like he's the one who got. And I know we're gonna talk about it, but I just wanted more of him. I like Chekhov when he was like, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to stun you, and they're like, and he's like, I feel really bad about this, like, and then it doesn't work. And McCoy's my favorite character in this whole movie, you guys. Like, because I've only seen like 2 episodes of Star Trek TOS and just this movie, but he's like over everything. He's super funny. He thinks everybody's a barbarian, which he's right. Like we're all lucky to be alive now. Like he's totally right. So I loved him.
Yeah.
That's my,
Go ahead,
sorry,
on.
that was my favorite part of that film was him in the corridor with the woman in that.
Dialysis.
Dialysis.
Doctor gave me a pill and I got
What
new
is this,
kidney.
the Dark Ages.
Yeah.
Oh, this sounds like the Spanish Inquisition.
I don't
Yeah.
think there's another Star Trek movie where Bones calls out people on their bullshit as much as in this movie. Oh, you're gonna rely on time travel with Spock's guessing? Oh, dialysis? You're gonna drill into the guy's fucking brain? Are you kidding me? Like,
The look he gives those 2 doctors in the elevator as he's just like slowly listening to them, he's just like, "You guys are fucking idiots."
it's the damn Spanish Inquisition.
Like I really believe they're from the future because they're so earnest in the way they react, like the way McCoy reacts, the way Chekhov reacts, like all of them. It's like they really sell it.
Yeah.
Scotty being like, "Hello, computer," like because they know enough to be able to make things work and to talk to these people, but they don't know enough to realize that they are odd as hell.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Just going to Twitch. We haven't been to Twitch in a little bit. Rob says he was the one on Discord yesterday saying they thought Chekhov looked dead. He says that was me, and I still think he looks dead when he's laying there. I mean, he looks pretty fucking dead. I mean,
Mhm.
if we're being serious. Anything else on the B plots? I know we don't, like Aaron said, we don't get a lot of Sulu. We see him maybe sweet talking the guy with the helicopter. That's about it. It's a lot of focus. Go ahead, Eric.
Same with Uhura, right? We don't get
Yeah.
much of her. Like
Yeah.
she comes
she's-
in, she beams out, and she feels sad, and that's it.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
it.
I
And then
liked-
she has the one line that I hear whale song. Yeah.
I liked when they were doing their whole they're like, okay, so we need to go to the hospital to get him, and they turn to what's her name, and they're like, you know how to make us look like we belong in a hospital, and then they show up in full scrubs, and then they get the gurney, and she like dives onto it. It's like it's so slapstick, and but but this movie has just the right vibe to it that it's fun. Like
Mhm.
even the stuff that is completely insane, I'm just like, yeah, I'm here for it.
Yeah, agreed. Let's move on to Act 3, and Brittany, take it away, please.
Okay, so in the final act of the film, Jillian learns that the whales have been released early and goes to Kirk for assistance. Jillian, Kirk, and McCoy rescue Chekhov from a nearby hospital and return to the now recharged bird of prey. After saving the whales from poachers and transporting them aboard, the crew returns with Jillian to their own time. What did we think of Jillian joining the crew at the end and the awesome scene between the bird of prey and the whaling boat?
Oh, they
I
were
will
both
say
great.
I loved it.
It was good.
I was trying to
especially,
let someone respond.
especially the whaling scene, because I remember how tense that was. Like the first time I watched it when I was a kid, and that. But also like doing like a rewatch in that, and it's like remember when they're at the institute and watch the videos are playing in that of what actually happens on a whaling
Oh
ship.
God, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So yeah, it really heightens the tension of that scene.
I
I
went
don't-
Play
to
this
yeah.
movie in schools.
go ahead, Eric.
I don't remember seeing this movie in widescreen until like just the past couple years, but seeing the bird of prey just decloak in front of that ship is so epic and
It's
amazing.
iconic.
Yeah, it's such a good shot that doesn't get enough praise. Like that's a great shot.
I went to sorry, Aaron, real quick. I went to middle school in on Long Island when I was living with my dad. And of course, like being close to the ocean and everything, everywhere we went to, they had some museum on whaling and how it was bad. So I remember seeing like all the videos on that and Voyage Home, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm already kind of, to use a 21st century term, woke on that subject. Yeah, it was intense. Still, having kind of seen that footage already, but then seeing the footage both in the museum and then the Enterprise being like, oh, you're gonna go try and kill these whales. Oh, I said the Enterprise. It was not the Enterprise. It was a bird of prey. Mark's gonna kill me if he's watching. He doesn't like us talking bad about birds of prey. I feel like, again, sometimes we talk about Star Trek outside of pop culture or outside of just like Trek fans, and that's an image you see a lot, right? Is that bird of prey just hovering over that ship, and it's so iconic and it's so cool. And I mean, that could be like a banner for any podcast, and that would just get listeners like that.
What language were those whalers speaking?
I think they were Norwegian.
Were they? I
Yeah.
couldn't tell. I was just subtitles
I'd like
didn't
to
say
believe
anything.
that maybe taught them that what they were doing was wrong, because like maybe that put some fear into them. The fact that they're out there whaling and out of nowhere this huge alien spaceship, soars over like that, and they're just like, oh my god, like hopefully they'll never go out in the water again, or they won't pursue that sort
Yeah.
of like career anymore.
Yeah.
That scene, that shot is so cool. Not that you'd ever expect, like, why going into this film you're like, oh yeah, a bird of prey is going to be in the San Francisco Bay back in the 80s, but then you watch it and you're like, this is incredible. It's so awesome. And it does tie into when they're in the museum earlier and you learn all about the poaching and you see these like really graphic videos.
The harpoon hitting the hull
Oh.
was
Yeah.
so good.
Can we go back a minute? Speaking of hitting cloaked ships and hitting things, going back to Act 2 real quick, when Dr. Taylor is running towards where she thinks Kirk is, and all of a sudden she just hits the bird of prey because it's cloaked.
Falls over.
Every time I watch this movie, and I'm like, that would have hurt her so much more than
Yeah,
it did.
It's so gentle. It's definitely
But
like
she wasn't running at
she-
full speed.
He was
Yeah.
running pretty fast. I don't know.
I wanted to see
And-
like a bigger bounce off.
Well, I thought she slowed down to like call for them at first, and then she moves forward and runs into it. Like she didn't just run straight into it.
I think she,
Like she stopped and then she
I don't
like
know.
went into it.
I don't know. I
The
don't
I
know.
thought she
idea
was,
that
like,
no
yelling for
jogger
Kirk
ever
earlier.
ran into this thing is hilarious.
Yeah.
Real quick, guys. NY Rawlite said Kirk should have blown the whaler to pieces, and I kind of agree.
Yeah, I would agree. Just like one of those cool Klingon photon torpedoes out of the.
I like the
Yeah.
idea that Brittany brought up where they went home and rethought their lives. Like I think that was a
That was a scare tactic to
Yeah.
decloak right in front of a boat like that. Like, come on, they knew what they were doing.
You want to
So,
buy domestics?
they needed new pants after that.
I mean, can you imagine seafaring people tend to be very superstitious anyways, and that can you imagine them going home and telling that tale in the bar?
Red sky in the morning, sailor's warning, bird of prey appears before your face. You better
Rethink
say
your
your
life.
final grace, like some shit like that.
That
So
was
on
good.
approaching Earth, the bounty. Wait,
Yeah, that's the name of the
yeah,
ship.
okay. I was just making sure I read this right. Okay. On approaching Earth, the Bounty loses power due to the alien probe and crash lands into the waters of San Francisco Bay. Once releasing from near drowning, the whales respond to the probe signal, causing the object to reverse its effects on Earth and return to the depths of space. For their part in saving the planet, all charges against the Enterprise crew are dropped, save one for disobeying a superior officer, which is solely leveled at Admiral Kirk. Kirk is demoted to the rank of captain and returned to the command of a starship. Kirk and Jillian part ways as she's been assigned to a science vessel by Starfleet. The crew departs on their ship, the newly christened USS Enterprise NCC 1701-A.
What a beaut.
And leaves on a shakedown mission. Do you guys think it would have been more interesting if the book really had been thrown at Kirk, literally or figuratively? Like, yeah, you saved the world, but you still do bad stuff. You have to be relieved of your duties. And what if Star Trek V, apparently, quote, was actually a good movie about Kirk's struggle and journey to get command back?
It would have been a bummer of an ending to like a really fun movie though. Like, I mean, I get what you're saying, but I think it would have been like, man, this movie was so fun. And then they're like, fuck you, Kirk, go to Kirk jail. Like what, like Burnham, they're like, we're going to send you to mine stuff in an outfit with a little Starfleet insignia and be sad.
Yep.
It's Star Trek. It like that kind of ending would have been the ending of like A Few Good Men. You go through this long ass trial and that they were right. They were guilty in that, but at the same time,
that's a good reference.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be the. Go ahead, Brittany.
I feel like of all the things Kirk has done, what he did in this movie was the least bad. So, like, that's why it feels so weird that, like, you're like, oh, he gets demoted really for this time, saving the whales in the universe.
Oh no, he didn't get demoted for saving the whales.
Well,
He got.
I know it's for not obeying a superior officer, but I just meant like in the one with the whales, where he saves the whales in the universe. That's the one where he gets demoted. Okay, Jan. But yeah, that's the only reason why he isn't completely deranked is because it's such a fun movie for sure.
I think that had this movie been made now, right? Like we would have seen the books thrown at him, right? Like that would have set up Star Trek V, like him getting his command back or him like struggling to figure out like, listen, I fucked up bad. How do I get back in Starfleet's good graces? How do I make this right? Would have been 10 times more interesting film than what we got with Star Trek V, which is just a steaming hot pile of garbage.
That I have yet to watch.
Not to mention that this movie at the very beginning sets up like what the repercussions would have been had Starfleet not punished Kirk properly. Because the Klingons were like, there will be no peace if this dude does not like get the book thrown at him. And Starfleet's like, oh yeah, just here's a brand new starship, Jim. Have fun. Go gallivant around the galaxy.
That is one thing I wanted to bring up. When Sarek shows up, I was like, oh, he here to say wreck yo shit. Because he was like, no, how dare you talk about Kirk this way?
Yeah. I would have liked a little bit more harshness, but at the same time, like Hawk said, it's Star Trek.
It's
they
the
gotta
80s.
get the Enterprise back. It's the 80s. All wrongs have been righted. Yeah.
Any other thoughts on that before we move on?
Nope.
We saw the Excelsior.
We
That was
did.
nice.
Which
See,
is
we want
Sulu's
that
ship
theory.
in the future on Voyager.
And
And in Star Trek too.
What?
The movie, and in the Star Trek movies too.
Oh, we'll get there.
Have you not seen Undiscovered Country?
I have seen nothing besides this movie and like 2 episodes of TOS, you guys. That's it.
And we've already done a
And
podcast.
you
It feels
guys
like we
were
just did
pooping
that
on
movie.
Me all the time.
yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but I think she didn't make that one.
She did not. She was not part of the crew yet. Yeah.
That's right. Now I'm the Empress of everything. The
Yes.
commander of all fleets.
Mother of
the-
Whales.
Yes, that's right. Ooh, the mother of whales. Yeah, that is a good one.
So, do you want to read the question? You could read the question.
Yeah, I was just
This
gonna
is our
keep-
birthday
this is
show.
all my
You do
section.
it. You do it.
It's okay. I'm trying. So Jillian also just gets to go on a starship, which I honestly liked. I was expecting her to be like, they're like, okay, your time to go back to Earth, but she's just like stays. Guess joins Starfleet, just does her own thing. Now she's a scientist all these years in the future. You're like, this is really cool.
I'm
What?
gonna make a really bad wrestling reference right now. Yes, I'm gonna compare wrestling to Star Trek. I'm gonna make this work.
Eric's ready for it.
Eric is ready for it. So in wrestling, and specifically in WWE right now, there is the developmental program called NXT, which isn't really the developmental program. It's really just where wrestlers from other companies go to learn how WWE does things before they get brought up to the main roster of SmackDown and Raw. So I always think about this movie and I'm like, wait, she just gets to go like on a starship? Like she doesn't have to go through Starfleet Academy? Like it's like AJ Styles coming in to the Royal Rumble, getting eliminated and showing up on Raw the next day. Like he didn't go through NXT at all. He just went right to his starship.
I guess she's such a scientific expert on these primitive creatures that they don't know enough about that they're just like she's a consultant, I guess, and she's going to be with a field of scientists that are learning about maybe extinct species or like whatever.
Yeah,
she must get a pass somehow.
Wouldn't you think that they'd want her on Earth though? Like
yeah, well, they
monitoring
will have her still go to like the academy or something. Like for now, she's just like, you'll go off and search for space whales.
I like that Joe is the only one who understands.
I had no idea what the hell you were saying, but I got the idea.
I really appreciate that.
You were like the people, and they did the thing, and I was like, yes. Is there like a because I know they all have like outfits and they themes and stuff. Is there like a space theme wrestler?
Oh, The Rock was in an episode of Voyager, remember?
Yeah, that was the shit. And his outfit that he wore was the same material in BSG that they made the flight suits out of, because that's how deep I am.
Alex goes Star Trek and wrestling, making the Southern girl proud.
We have people watching right now, probably are into wrestling too. And this
Sports
is
Joe is into wrestling.
their loves emerge.
I guess it's not sports ball. There's no ball. Sports.
I mean,
bodies.
We won't go there. But Enterprise A, there's the reveal there, and you get the TOS theme at the credits. What did we think overall with all these? The credits were different because they just showed parts of the movie. It was
I like that.
Remember when we did this?
Yeah.
I actually I sat through the credits again. I was like, oh, I remember that part. That was fun. And I
Like
just
remember the truck ride?
Yeah, that was nice.
It was just such a thing they did in the 80s. Like it was just so 80s.
Yeah, it felt like the end to like a sitcom episode where they're just
which
like,
is what
"Remember all
this
this crazy
movie
stuff?"
was.
Yeah, the sitcom episode. Star Trek 4,
Nice.
WandaVision.
I think the soundtrack wasn't the soundtrack for the film was my favorite.
No.
Nope.
The opening
Agreed.
theme wasn't good in that. The only good part was basically the end credits.
It does not fit with Star Trek.
The music was very 80s.
But not enough 80s to make it fun.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't
I
like
don't
it
know.
didn't have
Passable
like that
80s.
cool Tron vibe. That
Yeah,
would've
that's
been
where I was going. Like the synth
There was
wave.
no
and-
synth wave.
Wait,
There-
Hawk,
no,
show
that-
everybody, Hawk, show
there was
everybody your shirt.
neat.
I love it.
Hmm.
I have my action figures. I'll have to show you after we're done.
Sorry, go
There
ahead.
was a total shot when they were showing downtown San Francisco, and that I swear the music was lifted from Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah,
that's what it felt like.
I said to Rob last night, it sounded like Home Alone.
Really?
John
There's this-
Williams?
Like the running from when Chekhov is running from the army on the ship.
Yep. Yeah, that does sound like a
absolutely.
Yeah.
Kevin causing
Yeah, it sounds like
mischief
Kevin on the
moment.
run. Yeah, exactly.
Come on, guys, try and catch me.
Oh my god, the next movie is going to be the Kevin timeline.
Oh my god.
I gotta stop these Klingons from taking over my ship. Sets a bunch of traps.
I'd watch that.
So, what's our overall rating out of 10 nuclear vessels? Also, you can add here anything else you liked about the movie that we didn't already mention.
Ooh.
I mean,
man,
Go
you
for
go
it.
ahead, Eric. You go.
I mean, it had whales. It had fun 80s humor. Like, this is my favorite of the TOS. Like, one of my favorites. 6 is my favorite, but
I
this
was
is a
about to
very
say,
close.
Eric, I know what your favorite
There
is.
This is a very
6?
close second. Yes.
There's
But-
TOS movies.
but
How many?
6.
You should see your eyes right now.
How many movies did you just say?
6 TOS movies.
Yep.
And then
That's
more
a
for-
lot of movies.
They were the OG squad.
Wow.
But yeah, I thought it was great. 10 out of 10. Nuclear vessels.
Do you count what is it? The one with the Nexus? Does that count as TO? I feel like that counts as TNG.
That's
It's a
TNG.
TNG movie.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Because Kirk just shows up at the end.
Yeah.
Anyone
I'm on a
else giving
horse.
their ratings? I'm gonna go last because I asked the question.
8 out of 10 nuclear vessels and whales. You know what? No, I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10 because I really enjoyed it. I thought for someone who doesn't know shit about TOS, like I think the cast was really fun. The story's good. It holds up in 2020, 2021 as like an enjoyable film, and the things that date it make it works because it's a time travel movie, and
Yeah.
there's not there's no like extraneous baggage. Like the film moves at a nice pace. Like the guest cast is good, and like I love Jillian. This movie was great.
It's just a fun movie. Like,
Yeah.
if there's anything I just want to, like, if I want to just relax with a Star Trek film, I'll pop this on just because it's funny. Just fun.
Before I go, I'll read a couple of the ratings, and if people haven't rated it yet on Twitch, give us your ratings. Joe says it's a 10 out of 10 time traveling whales. Rob gives it, he says, calling this one an 8 out of 10. I dig it. It's a ton of fun. And there's nothing I dislike, but I can't rank it higher because it's my number 3 TOS movie, and I can't put it higher than the other two. And I'm going to go on top of that and say that I, too, am an 8 out of 10, probably more like an 8.9 out of 10. It's fun. Damn it, I'm going to say it. It's a blast.
Yes, a blast!
It's just good. There's nothing you could say wrong about it. Is it a perfect movie? Nah. But it's a lot of fun. Before everybody else goes, I'll just go right quick back to Twitch. NYRLA gives it a 9 out of 10 newly
Yeah, that's why I laughed.
newly grown kidneys. And Engineered gives it an 11 out of 10. And yeah, that's our ratings. Did anybody else not rate it yet?
I
Gotcha.
thought
Hawk.
I gotta go. I'm going to go 9 out of 10 nuclear whistles for this movie. One mark off for the score and that, but everything else about it was great for such a lighthearted movie in the Trek universe. And that it actually did a lot to for the plight of whales back in the 80s and that. I remember the marketing behind it. All the performances were great. What else can I say? 9 out of 10.
And I'll give it an 8 out of 10 nuclear whistles. Like everybody said, I was delightfully surprised by this movie. It had 100% more whales than I was expecting. And I enjoyed it. It's ridiculous, but it definitely was made to save the whales for sure. I will say one of my favorite parts I didn't get to mention was Spock doing the test in the beginning of the movie, like the initial like trivia sort of thing, and he's doing 3 different ones at once. That's what it's like to have ADHD and how my pun configurations actually occur in my head. So, like,
but how do you
is he
feel?
answering all these things at once?
Yeah, how
exactly.
do you feel?
And then when he paused with that part, it's like when someone's like, "But are you okay?" And I'm like, "No, no one's okay. None of us are okay."
I know we're getting a little short on time, but there's one thing I really want to mention because we talked about it in our Discord watching along with this movie last night, and I have to say, I can't remember the actress's name off the top of my head right now, but the actress who plays Amanda in this movie is very good. And we were talking about last night how Mia Kirshner's performance as Amanda, we think really takes a lot after how Amanda acted and her lines from this film. And I agree with that. It was very, very human, and we see so much of that in Discovery.
That would be Jane Wyatt.
Yep.
Jane Wyatt.
Yep.
Also on Twitch, we have Spotted Draft saying she gave it 9 out of 10. Love it so much.
Yes, got it.
One more good thing about this movie, we get to see Commander Chapel.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
The final
And-
appearance.
Yep, the
Bingo.
final appearance. I think that we don't have to read that fun fact now. Saving time.
Sorry.
Like, no, I like it. We're saving time. And we get to see Bad Admiral before he becomes Bad Admiral. So yeah.
Admiral.
All right. All right, guys, moving on to fun facts. I didn't give anybody an order yet. So if you would like to read the first fun fact, please raise your hand or just start reading it.
This
This
film marked
the start of Michael Okuda's 19-year relationship with the Star Trek franchise, both movies and television. For this film, he designed the computer displays as well as introducing the, quote, touchscreen computer consoles, seen in the rest of the Star Trek films and television shows, except for Star Trek Enterprise.
Because it sucks.
He's a visionary, man. Like everything, TNG where Elcar's like, I know that's not in this film, but thank God they got him because he's really made Star Trek, the look of it for people, for us, iconic. So iconic.
We could have not done it without him.
Plus
Fair
all of
enough.
our fonts on the website and stuff.
Right?
Our
Hell yeah.
designs are all Okuda. Yeah. The character of Dr. Taylor was originally a male character who was a wacky college professor who was a UFO net. And for added humor to the lighthearted script, actor Eddie Murphy was offered the role. Mike Okuda's DVD commentary, as well as William Shatner's Star Trek movie memoirs, indicated that Murphy, as a fan of Star Trek, had approached Nimoy and Bennett about a role in the film, but later he decided to appear in The Golden Child instead, a decision he admits later was a big mistake, obviously.
Many do.
And Catherine Hicks won the rewritten and revised role. Nicholas Meyer later stated that when he came to write the 20th century section of the film, he realized the earlier drafts were written with Murphy in mind.
I'm really happy they didn't go this route.
Same.
Like,
I
really,
think it would have been too much.
I probably would have hated this film because I this is probably gonna be a very unpopular opinion. I don't think Eddie Murphy is very funny.
Oh, I love him, but I think it
No.
just would have been way too much. Like, it's already
He
so
would have pulled
funny.
focus, right?
Yeah.
just
Yep.
would've-
It would
Yeah.
have been
It's
Eddie
been all
Murphy
about
in
him.
a Star
Yeah.
Trek movie.
Thank
It
you.
would have
Hawk.
been Eddie Murphy
Exactly.
featuring the cast of TOS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Rob disagrees. He says, "I'm here for a Shatner Eddie Murphy romance."
Oh, if there was going to be a romance, then I ship it. So.
I wish there was like if he would have like read for the part and we had some footage of that, I would like to see that, but I'm sure that doesn't exist.
Alex brings up a great point real quick. Love the stand-up, hate the movies. That I agree with. I don't like Eddie Murphy movies, but his stand-up is fucking hilarious.
He is pretty great, but in animated stuff, he's amazing.
Sure.
Oh,
Donkey.
and sorry,
And
his old,
Mushu, one
Mushu.
of the best parts of Mulan. Well, the whole movie.
You mean Proto Donkey?
Proto Donkey.
Aaron, I know that you've been wanting to talk about this forever, so I'm going to give you the next fun
I
fact.
have. An early draft of the script had Sulu meeting a young child on the streets of San Francisco who was a distant ancestor. And according to William Shatner, his Star Trek movie memoirs, the scene was an idea pitched to Harv
Bennett.
Harv Bennett by George Takei. He was apparently like they were going to do this, right? And when they came to do it, the child actor that they hired wasn't really a child actor. He was just a kid and he wasn't professional. And he just, I think it says here that his mom was on set. The kid was very nervous and they just really weren't able to get anything out of him.
That
So
sucks.
the scene just didn't happen. And it's really sad. I mean, I think to me that says, having worked on shows and stuff, like that just the production side messed up. But that part to me is like a loss because I think Sulu is kind of missed in this movie a little bit. We get him a bit, but I wanted more because he's one of my favorite characters.
Well, think about the two people in this movie that got the shaft, right? It's
Yep.
black woman and the Asian dude.
Yup.
And
I
that's
mean-
typical 80s. So,
Yeah.
slash
Exactly.
today.
Yep.
Yeah.
Literally today.
Watch
Yeah.
Warrior.
Yeah. Pretty
Yeah.
fucked up. Who wants the whales fun fact?
Oh, Hawk will do it.
Brittany.
He raised his thingy. Oh, me?
but you,
Okay.
but you love the whales.
I do love the whales. So, most of the shots of the humpback whales were taken using 4-foot-long animatronic models.
I did not know this, by the way. I just want to point that out before you continue. I thought everything was real. So until today,
Just like Jaws. Dun, dun, dun,
I thought that was a real shark too.
Yeah, most people do until like that one final scene. Then you're like, wait, it's a robot? So, 4 such models were created and were so realistic that after the release of the film, U.S. fishing authorities publicly criticized the filmmakers for getting too close to whales in the wild. The filmmakers reported that they enjoyed telling those same authorities that except for the live shots towards the end of the film, the whale scenes weren't real at all. The scenes
That was
involving-
mind blowing.
Yeah.
That is mind blowing, yeah. The scenes involving these whales were shot in a swimming pool in a Los Angeles area high school, as you know, all sea scenes really are in Hollywood. A large animatronic tail was also created for the scene on the sinking bird of prey, and filmed on a Paramount car park, which was flooded for the shoot. Do you want me to still read the next part?
But I just want to say real quick, as we're talking about the sinking bird of prey, can we all talk about the giant smile on Jimmy Doohan's face when he jumps into the water off the bird of prey? Because it was fucking epic. Like he was just waiting for the moment to jump into the water.
They're
And he
like,
was so
"Eh."
happy when he did.
Full belly flop.
It was so good. They were
Jimmy,
so.
what are you doing? I'm jumping off the bird of prey.
Are you gonna do the shots of the whales?
It's
guess
the
I
same.
will.
It's the same fun fact.
I was
so-
just making sure we're
but
good.
whoever wants to read the next part can. It's up to you guys.
Go for
The
it,
shot
Hawk.
of the
Oh.
whales swimming past the Golden Gate Bridge were filmed on location and nearly ended in disaster when a cable got snagged on a nuclear submarine.
Wessels.
The whales got towed out to sea.
That's freaky, man.
Isn't it kind of funny that this movie deals with nuclear vessels and a nuclear sub almost fucked it all up?
I mean, it was the Cold War. They were everywhere.
They
Yeah.
were everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
I have an
Everywhere.
extra fun movie tidbit if I can read it.
Please.
Do it.
All right. Leonard Nimoy provided the low wub 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 sound that the cigar-shaped alien probe makes while flying through space. Sound effects editor Mark A. Mangini had come up with several possible sound effects for the probe, none of which Nimoy liked. Finally, Mangini asked, well, what do you think the alien probe should sound like? Nimoy thought for a moment and then did a vocal impression of the sound he thought the alien probe would make. Mangini said, okay, let's use it. And then Nimoy
was
stepped into the recording booth and did a 2-minute voice recording of the wub 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 sound.
Oh,
Mangini took
my
the recording and mixed it with
God.
electronic feedback and whale songs to make the alien probe sound.
And this is why voice acting matters.
Exactly.
because it's so iconic. Like I've seen this movie twice, and we were on Discord the whole night, and it was just like
Rob on cue goes wub 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 wub.
Wow, that's good.
NYRLite also, I think, is going to say something that's going to make us all happy. Let's see the Cerritos meet the probe.
And V'ger?
V'ger, yes.
When
Yes.
is the Cerritos going back in time? I'm so here for it.
We'll see.
I will read the final fun fact because it's a quick sentence. We already kind of mentioned it, but this was Michelle Barrett's final performance as nurse or now Commander Christine Chapel. So, yes, indeed, it is now time, ladies and gentlemen, for the subspace poll and our mailbag. So I will leave it to our favorite comms officer to say.
Hailing frequencies are open.
And we asked where Voyage Home ranked for you in the Trek movieverse. And this was probably, I think, I could be wrong, but I think it was our biggest landslide poll yet. I mean, this was just, everybody fucking loves this movie. With that being said, 78% of you said that there'd be whales here. 18% said it was a decent entry. 3% said it failed to time warp. And 1%, how dare you, sir? Or
Double
how
dumbass.
dare you?
You're the
Double dumbass,
sir.
You're the double dumbass. So, double dumbass on you. And that is
I've
what
been saying that, by the way, for the last 24 hours, and this was, I'm the year I was born, apparently. So I'm about, how old are we now? 20? No, we're
I'm gonna be 35.
I was gonna say, somebody probably clicked it just for this because they wanted to do double dumb.
Yeah.
Apparently, I'm living in a time warp. 34 years ago, but I'm just now getting on the double dumbass train.
Indeed.
Cheers.
Speaking of double dumbass, no, I'm kidding. We love so much our Patreon collective, and they gave us some awesome mailbag this time. And we're gonna start with Rob and Hawk. Take it away, please.
After two really heavy movies that were about growing old, the futility and self-destructiveness of anger and sacrifice and loss, The Voyage Home was exactly what both this crew and the audience needed. A shot in the arm of pure joy. The fish out of water approach to our heroes, not having a clue how to navigate the audience's present day. Funny. Oh, sorry. Can I read that part again? How to navigate the audience's present day is funny, witty, and charming, and just all around a delight to kick back and enjoy. And it's even more fun because it comes straight through the camera that the cast was having as much fun making it as we are watching it. Love this movie.
Woo!
Yeah.
And Mark wrote, I think the biggest difference between watching this as a kid and now is that this is my favorite Kirk. He's calm, supportive of his crew, and he misses his friend Spock so much. I feel that in a way at 46 that I never could as a kid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
best Kirk.
Noe wrote, The Voyage Home was my entry point into Star Trek as a young kid. The local station was having a looping Star Trek marathon weekend, and I jumped in right at the point where Spock was swimming with the whales. It was such a fun movie that I stuck around for the whole marathon and caught up with all the movies. After this, I was all in for TOS and TNG. It might be called The Voyage Home, but for me, this movie was my maiden voyage for all things Trek and sci-fi.
I got goosebumps. That's fucking amazing.
No,
I love that. I love it.
Boldly going where no man has gone before. So bringing up the rear, Joe wrote, not my name, just kidding. The Voyage Home is the first Star Trek movie I remember watching in theater, and it came out a week before my 11th birthday. The dedication to the crew of the Challenger still gets me today.
Yeah.
It was fantastic. I'm glad that Star Trek chose to put a dedication at the beginning of the movie. There's so much I love about this movie. I love the colorful, I can't even talk. I love the colorful metaphors. I love how much fun everybody seemed to be having filming the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I agree, you can tell.
I have to say the Challenger dedication at the beginning hit me even harder watching it today or last night, because I just watched a couple weeks ago the Challenger documentary on Netflix, which if you haven't watched yet is really good. It's really hard to watch and really fucked up, and just another reason why our fucking government and political system sucks. Not to take it too deep, but
I didn't even know they had one.
Yeah, it's very, very good. So if you haven't watched the Challenger documentary,
No, we don't have a government or political system here.
That's what I thought.
The fact that the space program survived that, like I read Chris Hadfield, a Canadian, his book about his life and working for the space program, and he talked about the challenge of keeping the program going after that and getting the American people to continue to support it. And there's still a lot of people who are like, why are we going to space? It's like, listen, you know why you have an iPhone so tiny? Because we send things to space, because we have to make things smaller and better, work faster, because it's the only way to get it up there. So like, I think it's great that Star Trek is supporting the thing that's going to get us to Star Trek.
We in Canadian schools, we focus on the Challenger stuff for like a good portion of our schooling. I don't know if you guys say the same in the States.
No, we really didn't, which is a shame.
It's like
you learn about it a little bit.
Yeah, a little
and then
bit.
It's like, and by the way, this happened. And if you watched it live, you're still messed up.
That's called government cover-up, ladies and gentlemen.
But every decade here in the U.S., you watch something live that messes you up, or you live through
that's
it.
the truth. That's the truth. Any final thoughts on Voyage Home? Otherwise, we're gonna wrap it up. I personally am just gonna say real quick, this movie is fantastic, and I had a really good time watching with everybody last night. So much fun.
Yeah, I had fun. Refer to my Twitter to see.
Yeah, your Twitter is awesome about this movie. I will say then that this is the end of our Voyage Home retro review and deep dive. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us. As always, I don't think we've decided on an episode other than it's going to be something timey-wimey, fun, time traveling, best of Trek Thursdays right after our pod is over. Also, we decided, it's been talked about a little bit on our Discord for the past few weeks, everybody's wanted to watch Hamilton. So join us tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern time for our strange new pod, Discord Collective watch along of Hamilton. It's going to be so much fun. And then join us also next week for episode 25 of the pod, where we are going to talk about all of our favorite starships. It is our ships of the line. We have a guest, but it's tentative, so we're not going to announce it quite yet because we have to figure out timing. Aaron,
and Drunk Space 9 for this month, we're watching Little Green Men from DS9. It's going to be bananas. We're going to make a drink that is a cork drink, so you should join the Discord. Not the Discord. You should join the Patreon and the Discord.
I don't know how I feel about making a quark drink because sometimes that dude has some really bad taste. But
just you wait.
Oh.
See how I connected those two things?
Yeah.
I like it.
Amazing.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we will say, live long and prosper. Don't go swimming with male.
What?
Oh,
I never go swimming with males.
No, you don't. Let me try that again.
I was about to do a gesture, but that's not Twitch would ban us, so I'm gonna keep my hands to myself. I'm just gonna hold one up. Let your mind wander.
Don't go swimming with whales. Live long and prosper. Majram. Good night.
Thanks for beaming into our podcast today. If you want to keep the hailing frequencies open, you can subscribe on Apple and Google Podcasts, YouTube, and Spotify. Like what you hear? Put in a good word with Starfleet and leave us a 5-star review.